Okay, so this week we're in Parshas Noach, and we're in the first. We're today is Rosh Chodesh, Parshas the month of Mar Cheshvan, which means we're leaving the month of Tishrei this week, which is the month of the holidays of the New Year, and we're entering into the month of the so to say the first month of the year outside of what you would call your typical. It's not a holiday month; it's a regular month. So much so there's no real holidays in the month of Mar Cheshvan. In Chabad, we have the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Rashab. Sorry to say the birthday of the Rebbe Rashab on the 20th of Mar Cheshvan. Those of us in Eretz Yisrael, we start to bless the rain. We start to say Morid Atol on the 7th of Mar Cheshvan, which is coming up next week. But as traditional holidays go, there's no holiday in the month of Mar Cheshvan. So we go from a month that is full of holidays, Tishrei from the word. So it's like the idea of Titzvah, to be satisfied. It starts with Rosh Hashanah. We have Yom Kippur. We have the 10 days of Tshuva. We have Sukkot. We have Shmini Atzeres and Kesaros. It's Mamish. We have Shabbos Parshas. It's Mamish, a month that's full of holidays. Kind of go out to a situation where it's mar, it's bitter. There's no more holidays left, and kind of there's a bit of a down that a person feels going from all this energy of Tishrei going into the month of Mar Cheshvan. The Chabad, we have the custom that we say, Yaakov Yaakov goes on his way, meaning like a person is Shabbos, a person feels like the name Yisrael. You feel the name Liroish, you feel very elevated. And comes the weekday, on Motzei Shabbos, we have a song that we sing. It says, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov. Yaakov, don't be scared, don't be frightful to go out to the week, because when we go from holy, from communal, we hang out in shul together, we daven, we have the great kiddush from the University District Minyan. So we have all this great friendly relationship and davening at the time of chesed. And to come Shabbos, and we go from Shabbos into Motzei Shabbos, we go to the week. So we have to say, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov. Yaakov, don't be scared to go out to the week. Same thing also when it comes to the month of Tishrei. When we finish Tishrei, so Motzei Simchas Torah and the Motzei Rosh Shabbos Parshas. And the Rebbe always added Motzei Shabbos Noach. They're already in the month of Cheshvan. We have to say Al Tira Avdi Yaakov. We have to say Yaakov Al Darko. Yaakov has to go out onto his way or her way. Why? Because the idea now is not to stay in Tishrei. The idea is to take all the packages that we've accumulated over the month of Tishrei, all the energies and blessings, and unpack them slowly throughout the year. So we go out to the Mar Cheshvan, we have a job to do. And this really is connected to the Parsha. We spoke about these ideas many times. The Parsha of Noach has a few essential stories, what you want to call story, right? We have Parshas Noach has in it the story, of course, that everyone knows is the story of the flood. It is also, we have in Parshas Noach, we have the ideas of the story of how Noach comes out of the table, the story with Noach and his son and grandson, Chum and Canaan, where there was an act of inappropriate act that happened to Noach after he left the table. And then we have the Tower of Babylon. And then, and after that, we have, after the Tower of Babylon, we have the birth of Avram Avinu. So this week's Parsha deals, and in history, the Talmud, Dr. Dershowitz. So in the Gemara Talmud, Sanhedrin, Rashi quotes in this week's Parsha, analyzes the two generations, the generation of the flood and the generation of the Tower of Babylon. So first, let's just tell the story of the week's Parsha. This week's Parsha is a conclusion of last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha, we learned about the creation of the world, the creation of first man, Adam and Eve, and how they sin eating from the tree of knowledge. God asked them specifically not to eat from the tree of knowledge. Eve is tempted by the snake to touch and then to eat from the tree of knowledge. She feeds her husband Adam, and that's the sin of the tree of knowledge that basically brings death to the world. Man was supposed to live forever. The idea of death comes from the tree of knowledge. The ability to be self-centered, selfish, to make selfish decisions, to not serve Hashem, to have evil in your life comes from the eating of the tree of knowledge. Adam and Eve are evacuated and told they have to leave immediately from the Garden of Eden. They're thrown out, to be more specific. No longer could they live in the Garden of Eden. They had to live in a more complicated world. Life becomes more difficult for them life becomes more difficult for them in their day-to-day lives. God tells Eve to give childbirth is not going to be easy. God tells Adam to earn a living is not going to be easy. So all these things, the life went into a big change after the eating of the tree of knowledge. And with that, you could say, and not saying it's a consequence of that, but from there further, the people haven't turned any better. The world went into 1,500 years of chaos. There was the people lived very long. People lived past 900 years old, and the longest living person was close to 1,000 years old. And they sinned, and they served idols, and they robbed each other, and they killed each other, and they broke all boundaries between families, and they broke boundaries within animals. It was Hamas. The world was totally out of control. And last week's Parsha, we finished with Hashem saying that He's done. This can't continue, and we have to start again. And this is where we come to this week's Parsha. God found the person that He chose, that him and his wife and his 3 sons are going to, and obviously their wives, because they have to have wives, are going to rebuild the world. And with that, they're going to bring a flood. And anyone who's aside from the family of Noach, and according to some opinions, the Og Melech HaBashan, the giant Og, kind of held on to the ark. But everyone else is going to be destroyed. Everything's destroyed. All the animals are destroyed. Wherever was not on the ark or ark related is going to be destroyed. The only things that were not destroyed was the marine life. The sea life lived, but anything that lived on dry land is going to be destroyed. If it didn't survive, didn't live in the flood for the half a year that the flood was what happened, so it was destroyed. And Noach came out to a new world. And we talked many times about the Alter Rebbe's idea that we learned this week again about the Mayim Rabim, that the waters, it wasn't just that God flooded the world to punish the world and destroy the world and start again, because there's other ways for that to happen. And God didn't have to go through a half a year and all the, so to say, not that there's ever a lack of energy from God that He needs to do the easy way, but we know that God doesn't do things that are not necessary. So if God just wanted to start again with Noach, He could have just destroyed the world in a second, pulled the plug on the world. Nothing would exist besides Noach and his family. And you start again. And the animals only certain animals would survive. But instead, God flooded the world. And then Chassidus explains the flood is the idea of purification. It wasn't just that the world needed to be destroyed, but the world needed to be purified. The things that went wrong in creation, so to say, the idea that there was such destruction and such hate and such killing and stealing and all the things, that the world became such a non-holy, non-pure place. The world had to be put into a mikveh. So like when a person becomes impure, you have to go to the mikveh. You have to cleanse yourself. The world had to be cleansed. It wasn't enough to just start again. It says that Rashi brings down that the flood penetrated a certain depth into the earth, not just things that were on the earth were destroyed. The earth itself had to be cleansed. And Noach came out to a new world with his 3 sons and their wives and his wife, and started again. And God decided that He's never going to destroy the world again. We're going to have to figure this out. And like the Alter Rebbe says, and we learned in the Rebbe's Maimer as well, that the idea of the word Noach means from the word menucha, like the word menachem. The word Noach means calm, and chama, consolation. And when the prophets in Isaiah and others referred to the waters of Noach, we call them Mei Noach, the waters of calmness. Although we're talking about the flood, so they're not calm waters; they're destructive waters. And this is one of the bases that there's good that comes through a process. Some things have to go through process in life. And sometimes a person goes into situations or we're in situations, or we choose to go into situations, we're put in situations. How that happens is all in the details, but the fact is that there's times that we go through very difficult times in our own lives privately. We have situations that are difficult in our life. We have situations where we're finding it difficult in social situations, in financial situations, in health situations. We find times that the things are not the way we would like them to be. And it could reach a level where a person feels like they're in a flood. There's no oxygen, the pressure is tremendous, say Pinchas. The pressure is tremendous, the pressure is overwhelming. Like the Rebbe, they quote the verse that says, Shlomo Melech says in Shir Hashir, Song of Songs, that there's the Mayim Rabim, the great waters, and there's the Naharis and the great rivers that make a person sometimes feel like life is too difficult. And King Solomon says that you should know that these waters are not meant to try to destroy you. They're not meant to try to extinguish the flame, the passion you have for God. Sometimes for different reasons, sometimes we understand these reasons, and sometimes it's beyond our understanding to know what's happening. It doesn't change the fact that the Solomon says that these great waters are not here to drown you. They're here to bring out a level of focus, a level of direction. They're like the teva gets lifted up. If you have an ark, we said this many times, if you have an ark, you build a boat and it's on dry land. So then it has potential to get elevated, to get lifted up. And it's a place that potentially will protect you if there's a flood or if there's waters. But as it sits now in the earth, it's sitting there. When the waters come, so then the teva, the ark, is a protected space that you could navigate the floods of life. And the waters also lift up the boat. The more water there is, the higher the boat elevates. And sometimes it's specifically the floods in our life, the things that seem overwhelming, so much so that King Solomon has to assure us, they're not here to drown us. We have difficulties in our life. We have stresses in our life that are here to really hit us hard. Nevertheless, if we know how to navigate it properly, and we jump into the ark, we have a spiritual safe space of coming to shul, davening, learning, doing a mitzvah. At the end of the day, there's always an opportunity, as long as you are able in some way or another to perform a mitzvah. So when a person finds purpose in every moment, I'll tell you an interesting thought that entered my, we're on recording, but I'll say it anyways, that entered me, that I experienced last week. I wanted to take my sukkah down the day after Sukkot. And it was right after Sukkot, so it was before last week. And I wanted to take down the sukkah, and I couldn't. I scheduled my day that at a certain point I'm going to go home to take down my sukkah. And my wife asked me to go to the shuk before. Everyone knows Yerushalayim is the shuk Machmi Yehuda, to pick up dinner from the butcher, to buy some chicken for schnitzel. So I go to the shuk, and on the way back, I'm carrying a lot of things. I had to print up some things for myself. And I come back, and on the way back, there's a lady who sits on the street, and she's on a mattress, and she's connected to oxygen. And people give her money. Some people bring her food. People talk to her. And unfortunately, it's not an uncommon thing in Eretz Yisrael and Yerushalayim. So I give her a small amount of tzedakah. And she looks at me and she says, "Do you have a piece of bread?" She never asks for a piece of bread. She usually sits there and she says Tehillim. She says Psalms the whole day. She has a book of Psalms. And she says Tehillim. People always bringing her food and things. She never asked me, at least, for a piece of bread. So I said, "I don't have bread with me." I said, I'll go across the street and I'll get you bread. So she says to me, no. The bakery across the street I don't like. I need bread from another bakery. I said, okay. So I'm in a rush because in my mind, I think I want to go back home to take down the sukkah. I go back to the shuk and I go to a bakery and I buy some rolls. And I come back, so it's another 15 minutes. And I come back to the lady and she's sitting on her mattress, she's saying Tehillim. And I said, here's rolls. She looks at the rolls and she says, no, this is not good bread. I can't eat this bread. It's white flour, and and she's like trying to tell me she can't eat. It's not good bread for her. So I said, what kind of bread could I get you? And I'm really feeling inside the anxiety because my mind is set. It's my problem, right? I'm dealing with my issues. I want to take down the sukkah, and she tells me the bread's not good. I said, what can I get you? Inside, I'm nervous already. And she tells me, well, you don't have to bother. I said, no. So she says, I need to have special kusmin, spelt bread, etc. I go back to the shuk again, and I find a special bakery that makes and sells spelt bread, and I buy her a loaf of spelt bread, and I come back and I give it to her, and she's saying Tehillim. She says thank you, and I'm really stressed out, and I go to daven mincha because it's really late, and then I realize when I'm davening mincha, I realize that I forgot my envelope that I printed up of important things. I forgot. Do you hear me?
I can hear you, Rabbi.
Good.
The picture's freezing sometimes, but you can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, not sure what happened there. So I go back. I get the bread, then I drop her off the second loaf of bread, and then I go to mincha. In mincha, I realized that going back and forth, I left an important envelope, so I have to go back to the shuk a third time to try to find this envelope. And I found the envelope was in the second bakery. I left it there. So after I'm walking back, I'm thinking to myself that almost I was thinking to myself like, to God, you owe me one. Here I spent an hour and a half trying to get this woman a piece of bread, and I really just wanted to go home and take down my sukkah. And here I'm going back and forth, and I lose my envelope because I'm going back and forth. I was very agitated, and then it dawned on me. And this is what it means, like what is this? This is what it means to go into the ark. It dawned on me that that's the most foolish thought I could have had. Here I'm thinking that I have to do something else. I have to take down my sukkah. And the truth is, the best opportunity I could spend my time was every step I took back and forth. That hour and a half was full of a mitzvah. Every step I took, I was trying to get this woman something to eat, a loaf of bread that she wanted. And God gave me an opportunity to spend the most full hour and a half, because every minute was part of a mitzvah. When a person goes out to the world, sometimes you're doing a mitzvah, sometimes you're not doing a mitzvah, sometimes your time is well spent. If I would go to a business meeting and it didn't work, I wouldn't be upset. I would say, that's the odds. You have 80-20, 20% of your success comes from 80% of your success comes from 20% of your effort. Most people waste time, even if you're trying to be productive. You're wasting time because in order to make every minute count, it's not easy. Make it actually to see a reward in every effort of all your time is not easy. And here I had an opportunity to do a mitzvah. Every step I was taking was a mitzvah. It was all about trying to get this woman something to eat. And so that's the idea of a teva. It means a person can either look at life as overwhelming and there's floods and there's rivers and it's so difficult, or you jump into the teva. The teva doesn't have to be a physical space. The teva is a mindset. You're lifting yourself up. You're finding purpose. The whole flood is just to lift up your teva. All the difficulties you see, the stresses that you're feeling, is just really a way for a person to elevate themselves, to go higher. That's why the waters are called Mei Noach, the waters of calmness. The waters, because these are waters that give a person an opportunity to lift themselves up. Find your teva, find your art. So this is one of the main ideas And that's why when the Rebbe talks about this idea, the Rebbe says that's the idea of Yaakov Halach Ladarka. Yaakov goes out to his ways, because when you fall into these, when you understand the waters of Noah, and you understand the opportunities we have in life, and we could choose how we view these things, right? You could get angry, you could get upset, you could get agitated, or you could find the opportunities in every moment that you have. Make it count, make it into a moment of the ark is being lifted up. And then it's waters of calmness. I mean, literally, that hour and a half that I spent trying to get that woman something to eat was mamish quality time of doing what Hashem wants, doing God's will. So we're talking mamish. It means this is the ark that we have to find within ourselves. We have to know how to look at life as opportunities of doing God's will, as opportunities of elevating ourselves. But the Alter Rebbe finishes off a very important point, that as important as that is, for us to, even in the raging waters of life, and even in the flood waters of life, and even in all the stress and anxieties that we feel sometimes, that we have a choice to use it as a purifying moment and an elevating moment. But we have to also know that it says naicha naicha, 2 times calmness. There's another level of calmness. And that second level of calmness is that there doesn't have to come calmness because of difficulties. When Mashiach comes, there's no longer going to be, like the Alter Rebbe uses the term, Loi kol zman, not all the time is it a time for purification. Not always a person has to look and say, where can I find the challenge to lift myself up? Where could I find a difficult moment? No, sometimes you have to trust that God could also provide for you easy times. That's part of bitachon. Part of bitachon is not just to say that the only way I could live my life is through difficulties. There's the second level of Noach. Noach, it says Noach 2 times. The second level of Noach is that God could also provide everything you need with all your elevations, with all your purpose, without it coming through difficult times. So we have to wish ourselves, and it comes to Shabbos Noach. And then we'll move on to the Tower of Babel. When it comes to the Shabbos of Noach, we have to find focus and make sure that we use the difficulties in life to lift up our ark. Find the ark. Know your ark. Know how to identify the places that your safe places spiritually, and your safe places emotionally, and your safe places mentally. Places that you could find where you could use it as an elevating moment. Again, the more waters there are, the higher the ark rises. So that's very important for a person to have a strategy, a game plan. But the second time, we also, with that, have to have faith and bitachon and hope, tikva, that not always does it have to come through difficulty, that the same God that can elevate us through difficulties also can find elevation and purpose in the easy way. Because when Mashiach comes, Yom Shikul Shabbos, when Mashiach comes, it's not going to be through difficulties. And now that we're holding the early days before Mashiach, the last days of Galus, and like the Rebbe always would say, that you're supposed to, Erev Shabbos, taste the foods of Shabbos. And on Erev Shabbos, we get dressed. And now we're holding mamish if we look at the world as 6,000 years, and the Talmud says, it's a Talmud. Talmud says the world will only exist 6,000 years. And we are in the end of the last 1,000 years. We're mamish 200 after this year. We're ready after we finished Rosh Hashanah. We've completed 200, that we're going into our 213th year left to the possibility for this world to exist. Not a lot of time. Like the Rebbe would always say, it's Erev Shabbos after Chatzos. It's after midday Erev Shabbos. And if the Rebbe said that in 1940, 50, in 2025, 75 years later, we're mamish close to Shabbos. We're ready in our big day Shabbos. We're in our Shabbos clothing. We're ready, plugged in the cholent, put up the hot water. Everything is set for Shabbos. There's nothing left for us to do but to just accept the Shabbos. So we should be Zayich, we should merit that we should go to the second level of Noach. The level of Noach that brings menucha only in good ways. And make sure not to trip in those times. When Hashem blesses us, we shouldn't say, take advantage of God's blessings. We should stay focused with the same energy. Like the Rebbe said in the final mimer that he gave us, the Rebbe says he wants to see that even in good times, Jewish people want Mashiach. Everyone wants Mashiach when life is bad. But do you want Mashiach when life is good? So we shouldn't be tested by like that, but we should keep our focus, never, and use God's kindness and chesed and menucha that He gives us to double down, to be more productive, not less productive. People, we have a tendency, like it says Vayish, that Shamata, and when the Jewish people come fat, they become lazy. When you come fat with God's good, don't become lazy. Stay productive. Stay focused. Show God that you know how to use His blessings of kindness and menucha to be more productive and more out there. And if you're more rested, Noach also means rested. You're in a better space to perform on a higher level. Just to finish off, we have to end soon. Hey Peter, Mamash, you have the whole cover here. It's good to have you guys go back. So when we have the second part of the Noach, the Gemara in Sanhedrin asked the question that what happened that the generation of the flood were all destroyed, right? At the end of the day, all the people were destroyed, and the generation that tried to rebel against God by building the Tower of Babel. So what happens after Noah comes out of the Teva? His children start having families, and they multiply quite fast. And after a few hundred years, the people get together and they're ready, a large amount of people. And they want to, I see that it says my internet's unstable, so it's not showing good. So it says that, do you hear me, Pinchas or Jeremy?
I can hear you, Mendy.
I can hear you now.
But the picture's still freezing a little bit, but I still hear you.
I don't know what it is. Okay, so it's so after the people were start to multiply again, they decided to unify, and with a single mind and a single idea to stay unified. They figured, and like the Alter Rebbe explains, it's brought down to Memorim, that they figured that the power of unity is so powerful, which is true, Achdus. It's so powerful that they could manipulate the power of unity. They can manipulate something that's so special, like Achdus, to their advantage. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe says that's why in the Gemara Sanhedrin it says that the generation of the flood, although they sinned horribly, they have a portion in the world to come. But the generation of the Tower of Babylon, God didn't punish them because the power of Achdus, of unity, what are you going to do? You're going to destroy the people? They had unity. But God understood that their unity was false, and their unity was with an agenda. And therefore, He said they don't have a portion in the world to come. And I just want to finish off with a lesson that we could take from this. That we have to remember the snake, when the snake offered Chava from the tree of knowledge, it's called Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Why is it called Eitz Hadas Tov Ra? Because it really, really integrates and mixes and confuses the person of what's good and what's bad. It used to be simple. Adam and Eve were good, the snake was bad. Don't eat from the tree. Before man ate from the tree, life was simple. It was good and it was bad. Once we ate from the tree, it wasn't just that we had potential to do bad. What is good and what is bad became confusing. They lost the clarity of what's the right thing to do. It wasn't clear. A person could live their whole life, and everything on paper seems to be good. But it's so rotten, really. It's so manipulated. It's so fake. It's so serving a personal agenda. There's no MS. There's no truth there. So it works for you. You're trying to manipulate, like the people of Tower of Babylon. You're trying to manipulate Achdus, unity, for your own interest. That's very dangerous. We find very few times in history that God intervened. God didn't intervene in the flood. He punished them from the flood. God intervened when He saw people manipulating what's right and what's wrong. And the lesson we can take from that is that we have to, like the table, like the ark, requires a person to have an awareness where your ark is, What is your safe space? What is the ways for you to elevate yourself? Our job is to try to find them. We're all adults, we're not children. So we all have to know that we have to have the emes, the honesty, be able to evaluate what's really happening. What are these, when we have feelings of, a zealot, when Pinchas was a zealot for God, screaming for the sake of Hashem, and he goes and he kills Zimri, and he kills the Kazvi Basur. The Torah has to be very careful to identify if Pinchas did the right thing or not. And if Pinchas acted out of being a zealot for God or a zealot for his own agenda. And therefore the Torah has to tell us, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, the Torah has to tell us that God says, I checked, I examined deep into Pinchas's heart. And I can testify, as only God can, that Pinchas meant it for the right reasons. But otherwise, it's not always so clear. It's not clear to others, and sometimes, and the most of the time, it's not even clear to ourselves. If we're being a zealot for God, or if we're being a zealot for ourselves. Is every moment of unity a true moment? Or is it a manipulation of an opportunity and call it unity? And say, well, this obviously is the best thing. The Tower of Babylon they confused, they muddled the waters. They confused the generation of the flood. If you ask them, they said, yeah, we stole, we robbed, we killed, we did everything. We did all those things. They weren't claiming to be good people. The people from the Tower of Babylon were walking under the banner of unity, for the sake of unity. But God, who knows what's inside the heart of every person, saw clearly this was a manipulation. This was the highest form of corruption. And we can't change the world, and we can't change every situation. But today we live in the world very close, very similar to the generation of the Tower of Babylon. There's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of misrepresentation of agendas, and there's a lot of enclothing things that look good and they're really bad to the extreme. Today we live in a situation where what's right is wrong, what's wrong is right, is to the highest level, and it's under the banner of godliness. It's under the banner of unity. It's under the banner of good versus evil. It's all confused. So we can't necessarily change the world, but we can definitely have a personal honesty. Find your truth. Make sure you examine yourself. Know where your agenda is coming from, where your emotions are coming from. Today it's even where your thinking is coming from. Not just how you're feeling, but how you're thinking. It's the Tower of Babylon today has penetrated not just our feelings, but our thinking, which is much more damaging. Because when a person knows right and wrong, but just can't control themselves because they have feelings or temptations or instincts, at least they know that what they're doing is wrong. Asa, his head was separated from his body. His head understood what was right. His body couldn't deal with it. Today, the Tower of Babylon has penetrated the head, the thinking process. People will sit there and argue, this is right, on the highest levels and from the lowest levels. In the anti-Semitism, and anti-Eretz Yisrael narrative, the rhetoric, all that's running around the banner of honesty and the banner of good, tov versus bad. So we like the Tower, when God sees that upsets God very much. God says the people of Babylon don't have a portion of the world to come. I'm not going to kill you, I'm not going to flood you, but you're not going to have a resurrection. I don't want to. This is penetrated so deep. There's no cleansing here. You're not going to be part of the story of the world to come. And we all want to be part of the story of the world to come. We all want a portion, as Hashem, we all have a portion of the world to come. So we have to make sure we're not part of the Tower of Babylon. Find inner honesty. Be honest at least in the situation. Even if you can't control yourself, at least don't try to manipulate the agenda. Don't try to change the narrative. They all had a single language. They didn't really get along. As soon as God just intervened a bit, they started to kill each other. God showed in a second how it wasn't real. They couldn't maintain that unity. It was a unity that had an agenda, and the agenda was hate. of hating everything godliness and hating everything holy. So I want to wish everyone l'chaim, Yaakov alach darko. We're going out to the world now. It's a new year. Take all the messages of this week's Parsha. It's a night that messages are not supposed to be studied, but as much as it's supposed to be implemented. That we take from it energy and focus, what it means and what we have to do in order to get through the year, and hopefully will be merit to the two levels of Noach, the calmness and the Noach of Shabbos and the Noach of Mashiach, the Mheira of Yameinu, maybe speedily in our time. L'chaim, everyone. Good Shabbos. I see Matthew has already left. Oh, who's that? Matthew, you there? Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
So,
L'chaim.
L'chaim, everyone. Good Shabbos. Matthew, anything that you want to tell us about Shabbos Noach I know, is Shabbos Lech Lecha Gary's Shabbos, or that's another week?
Gary's is 30th Tishrai.
Oh, wow, I'm off. Okay. So what's happening this week in congregation university?
So I have to do dinner at Hillel, which means I'm going to spend the night at Shul, which means whoever shows up early gets to wake me up.
All right.
That'll be me. That'll be good.
Which means we're going to have a nice service. We're going to do a lot of good things, and we're going to have lots of fun. So everybody's invited to come and join us.
Please do. So everyone have a wonderful Shabbos, a Shabbos Noach, and a Shabbos of all kind of good ideas. It should only be positive.
Right.
Take care. Thank you for joining.
Good to see you again.